2024's Woman of the Hour ran 1 hour and 35 minutes. It stars Anna Kendrick, and she also, I think, directed it. She was behind the scenes as well. But the funny thing about the compact time is that I both enjoy it and couldn't really imagine the idea of a woman going on the dating game taking more than an hour and change. So that's a positive. But after watching the movie and understanding it's more than just woman going on the dating game and picking a serial killer, well, it made the time allotted make more sense. So after the open rolls, I will break down the Netflix film Woman of the Hour. Wyoming, 1977. I say that first, and it was the first note I took because it took me aback how much the film jumped both in place and time, because often we would be going from different locations and backwards and forwards throughout the story. Like at one point, we're in New York, 1971. Then we go back to 1977. There's also so many different locations, whether it be Wyoming, New York, LA, all over the place. But the reason the film establishes early that it both will not stay in one place or one time, I think, is an asset, given that had it been a direct straight line from meeting Cheryl to her going on to the dating game, it would have been lackluster. Whereas the concept of meeting Cheryl and her getting turned down for an audition helped make her story make sense, while also having already pre-established the Rodney backstory by starting out in Wyoming. And so much of the story, most of the now in the timeline of the story is the Cheryl part, and I think exclusively the flashbacks or the jumping in time are the Rodney story, which are good because it really helps to contrast his character from what we see on the dating game show to what we know of him from his past, whether it be, like I said, in New York where he's helping a woman move in Wyoming where he's pretending to be nice, helping a woman get over her ex. But regardless of the place or time where we see Rodney, his one common denominator trait is his aggressive nature, because he puts on the face of kindly and thoughtful and romantic, but his go-to thing is being aggressive toward women. Thankfully, the camera pulls away in the Wyoming open assault. When it pans back, the woman is gone, and it is terrible and creepy. The Cheryl character, Anna Kendrick's character, screaming in her car is so relatable. Just the idea of, like, what's it gonna take to break through, to get across, to get out of this feeling of being stuck. I mean, like, I sometimes feel like, when is the when is the breakthrough? Now, part of it comes down to, channel wise, the slow ascent, because I didn't start out with 400 plus subscribers. They came over time, which I'm grateful for everybody who tunes in and watches and cares about my opinion. But there's just times when it's like, oh, it doesn't feel like it's happening, because, like, think about it this way. You feel a raindrop and then you feel another, but it's not, you're not caught in the storm because it's just drip, drip, drip. Whereas in some cases, it seems like I've heard people talk about on their channels, it's like, oh, I got 50,000 subscribers in X number of time. I'm like, you're not even as consistent as me. I'm confused by this. But, whatever, I guess it's just content choices, but perhaps. As far as choices go, Cheryl chooses to go on to the dating game because her agent, I think it was her agent, but her manager, her agent, her person helping her get gigs, reassures her that Sally Field was on the dating game and everything worked out for her. Cheryl goes out with a neighbor to a bar, and I believe it's Pete Holmes, the comedian. And he, again, it's another one of those situations where the characterization that is being portrayed is so relatable because he's thinking that it's a date and it's more than what she thinks it is. She thinks, oh, we're just friends, and he goes to make a move and pour his heart out, and she's just not in the same mindset as him because she's so career focused at this point in time. When we return to the Rodney setup stuff, we see a young girl who's stealing quarters from a laundromat, and she hides out behind some stairs. And Rodney, the very creepy character, is also smooth at convincing women that he's not a creep to begin with. I mean, eventually they all seem to get on board and understand the fact of the matter. I really enjoy that the host of the dating game in the movie is played by Buster from Arrested Development. I think that character is fun on that show, and that actor definitely sets himself apart here in the dating game world of Woman of the Hour as opposed to Buster the character, because this guy is also, while not as creepy as Rodney, definitely has an air about him where women are treated lesser in the show. One thing that I took away from the movie that I thought was entertaining is that it felt like everybody here in this 70s story has no filter and they just say whatever comes to mind as if that there is no consequence, and maybe that's a consequence of no internet, people not out here trying to throw you under the bus. And it's potentially how that Rodney could get by with what he did for so long, is that people just are so isolated and able to stay separate. Each one of the bachelors on the dating game have such a contrasting personality. Not entirely certain if it's accurate to the way that the show played out, but it would make sense if every episode you made sure that each person presented themselves differently, because Bachelor number one is basically an airhead. Bachelor number two is presented, especially in commercial breaks and off mic, as almost a womanizer, whereas Bachelor number three is presented on the show as, oh, the kindly one who has your back. Thank you for being here at Mr. Super Oz. This video is going out, and this channel only exists because I, Oz, founded Gamble Comics, which first release was Everlasting Survivors, a 68-page graphic novel called All Day Long. Available now. Follow the link in the description that will take you to gamblecomics.com. While there, you can get hats, shirts, posters, much, much more. But most importantly, the story itself. When in reality, we know that Bachelor number three is actually the worst of the worst. While the show is on break and the makeup ladies are touching up Cheryl, she shares with them how that she doesn't enjoy playing the ditzy girl like the host wanted her to, and they tell her, what are you going to do? They're not going to fire you. Just do it however you want. And I thought that was an interesting take, and that's one of the beauties of the freedom of this show, is, or this idea that you're not a full-timer. Like, she wants to roll full-time, but it's like the freedom of this not being your full-time gig gives you the capability to do things how you choose. We, in the process of the show filming, meet a character, Laura, who is very freaked out about the sight and the sound and the realization as to who Bachelor number 3 is, because her friend had suffered at the hands of Rodney, and she exits the recording, bumps something over, freaks out in her car. It's just like, she even tells her boyfriend outside in the car, but he doesn't instantly think that she's even correct, which makes her super mad, which is, understandable. If we're together, it's like, you should at least believe that I have the capacity to understand what I see and what I know. When Laura tells the boyfriend to basically kick rocks and get lost, she goes to try and report Rodney to the show because she's scared for Cheryl. And I'm going to say a production assistant, but somebody within no, it was a security guard. That's right. A security guard has Laura sit down and wait for an executive producer. That's what she's told she's waiting on. And then as time passes, it sure seems like she's being stood up, and a janitor asks her who she's waiting on. She tells him, and he's like, they're messing with you. That's my name. I'm not an executive producer. I'm the janitor. And as the show, the dating game goes on, Cheryl does pick Bachelor number 3 when she goes at it her way of like asking all the guys quite crazy questions like, what's a girl for? And of course, Rodney, who is smooth talker, manipulator, he says exactly what she wants to hear, and so she picks the bad guy. So Cheryl, when she picks Rodney, they're gifted with this big trip, and it's the dating game, and we're gonna all expense paid to yada yada. But because Rodney, I suspect because he has impulse control. I mean, I guess that's a very accurate and understandable way of putting his predicament, his impulse control. He insists they go out tonight, and while they're out, things just get uncomfortable. Cheryl's not having a good time. So she tries to break things off for the evening. Not like forever, because she's smart enough to know that that's a bad call. But Cheryl gives Rodney a fake number, and he wants her to confirm it as she's walking away, but she can't. And he knows that he's been played, but the fact is, she's so good at putting distance between them that thankfully he doesn't get her in this moment. She's not his next victim. She's just very uncomfortable with the way things are or have been going. So after Cheryl gets away, I'm like, man, I have no idea how this is going to end. We check in on Laura, and her dude has brought her flowers, and then they go to try and get the police back interested in Rodney's choices, because she never got a follow-up with where she reported him to for the assault on her friend. But the cops they brush her off, make it seem like she doesn't know what she's talking about, they can't find the paperwork. It's just like, man, this just seems like nothing is going to go right when it comes to stopping the bad guy from doing the bad things. And then we end on one of the stories we had seen play out throughout, and surprisingly, in the best possible way, Rodney doesn't kill this girl that he had assaulted. And then I get quite confused when she wakes up the next day. I think he might have even been confused that she wasn't dead. And she's like, oh, let's not tell anybody about what happened, as if she's ashamed or trying to hide something she did when he was the one who was bad and aggressive and whatever. And so he's almost to the place where it's like, oh, wow, can I keep doing what I do, she live, and then get by with it? And so she's playing all kinds of sweetie, honey, baby, good time stuff with him. So much so that Rodney, is finally getting manipulated in the way that he had always been manipulating the women. And so as they drive off and he needs to get gas, he stops at the gas station to go to the bathroom, and he asks if she wants anything. She's like, "Oh, I'm good." And so as soon as he closes the door to the gas station bathroom, she bolts to a diner to report him, and the sirens blare, and he gets caught. And it was a very good ending because of how bad all of the things that we had endured that he had done. And so I gave it a 4 out of 5. I did think that in the end the movie was good, but it was such a struggle for me to get through all of the misdeeds of the one of the two primary characters, whereas the other one wasn't Cheryl wasn't bad. She was just not nearly as emphasized as Rodney was. And so with that, it made it harder for it made it harder. I'm not saying to care about Cheryl. I mean, like, I cared enough that I didn't want her to get hurt, but most of the time felt like we were with Rodney and in bad times. And so much of the ambiance was uncomfortable for a good reason, obviously, because of what was happening. But it's just why I tend not to take these thrillers in so often, is because they have that just ick, that that creepy aura, that feeling that won't easily go away. But yeah, the movie itself was good. It's just because we're in the month of May and I watch things that Mrs. Super Oz prefers, it's why we tuned in to watch this, because it's not exactly my go-to thing or style. I'm more of an upbeat or an action type choice, whereas this was very not upbeat. And while there were actiony elements, they were all very uncomfortable actions that were going on. But thanks for tuning in. Come back all week. Enjoy.